Welcome to our 13th Sports as Coach show here. I am with Taylor Scott, the new Emporia girls basketball coach. Taylor, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, Taylor, first of all, just talk about you being hired as the new girls basketball coach and, what was the process like? When did you find out that you were going to be the new girls basketball coach? And of course, just how ecstatic are you to, lead these girls here in a very few short months?
Yeah, I found out that I was going to be hired as the next Emporia High girls basketball coach just a few weeks before school ended. Um, it was pretty a pretty exciting experience. I've worked with these girls for quite a while. I was the freshman coach these last 4 years, so all the returners I've really gotten a chance to get to know really well. And I was also the head middle school coach last year, and I had worked in the middle school program for the last 4 years as well. So the girls that are coming up, I'm also really familiar with as well. So finding out that I was the next head coach is super exciting because of those relationships that I already have with all those girls. So
I've heard a lot of that with especially coaches who have been coaching at the middle school level, or as you mentioned, the freshman level. How beneficial is that when a coach like yourself can have that? And yeah, you'll be coaching obviously the varsity players as well. But how beneficial is that to see what you have coming up and knowing that, when seniors do graduate, you can kind of plug people here and there. So what are the benefits of that and how much is that just fun for you to know what you have coming up, in the years down the road?
oh, I think it's super beneficial. Me and the rest of the coaching staff were kind of talking about that the other day. It's just been really nice to see because I did have these girls in middle school and I have worked with them when they were in middle school. So we have a general idea of what's coming up, and it's nice to be able to know what they're learning at the middle school. It's nice that I was able to provide them with the things that they need to be successful in high school to kind of get them prepared for that transition. So that transition is just a little bit easier. So that's yeah, I think it's super crucial for us and for our success, especially with as young of a roster as we have this year. Kind of knowing and being familiar with them already, and being familiar with their strengths and their weaknesses, and kind of knowing where we need to develop, but knowing also what they're good at and what we can really play into this next year.
I know, and obviously, you guys were in the state tournament last year and had a really good squad, and you said you have a really young team. And, for you as a coach, when, you lose some players or, because that's, of course, what happens, but just how excited are you to see what the program was able to do last year and hopefully get back to that same spot this coming season?
Man, last year was incredible. Honestly, the whole time I've been involved with our high school program has honestly been a phenomenal experience, even when we haven't been in the state tournament. But last year's group of seniors was a special group, a really fun group of kids to be around. Genuinely, I mean, going to practice every day is the highlight of my day. They're just really great kids, and they're really fun to be around. And these younger ones have really gotten an opportunity to continue to learn from those girls. Some of them, there's a few sets of sisters on the team that were seniors and freshmen last year. So that was kind of really a special moment for those freshmen to get to play with their senior sisters, or even if they weren't sisters, playing with, their friends' older sisters. So it's really been a pretty special experience being involved with them. But I'm really excited for this year too. I got a bunch of girls that we already had our team camp, and we had the conversation of everything's fair game. There's 12 varsity roster spots or however many, we decide to fill, but they're all open and it's anyone's game. And we just got to compete every single day. Everyone's competing for a spot because it's all open and it's anyone's ball game. Anyone can step into those roles.
And let's go based off of that, right? It seems like you're a competitor. It seems like, you have a lot of energy and passionate, right? And just have the love for the game. I can already tell that. And for people that don't know Taylor Scott and your coaching philosophy, if people don't know, what maybe makes you tick, if you will, or maybe what makes you just keep going as a coach, what are some of those things that if people don't know about your coaching philosophy, how would you maybe describe that?
For us, not even just me, but for my assistants as well, Bob Miller and Brett Stewart, we want them to compete. That's the beginning and the end of it. If you're out there competing and you're doing everything that you can for the girls standing next to you and for your team, because that might not be when you're on the court. We talk a lot about roles, and we talk a lot about competing in your role and being successful in your role, whether that's getting being the first one to the floor, or going after that rebound with two hands and chinning it, or just, any kind of toughness factor or toughness that we can come up with. But that might be you on the bench, and that might be you being a good teammate on the bench. That might be you supporting by coming off the bench and playing for 30 seconds or for a minute or whatever it is. So really for us, it's really competing. And I think our girls are really starting to buy into that. They were a little bit during team camp at the beginning, it was a little bit timid because they weren't used to, having to be leaders last year, the returners. So it's been a learning experience, but they're learning we're going to compete, and we're going to compete every single play. And that's the style that we want to play. And that's kind of our philosophy, is that we want competitors.
And so what was when you talked to the players and when you were hired, what did you talk to them about in terms of, what you expect out of them? As you said, compete is a big word that you've brought up. What are some things that you've talked to them about in camp, or maybe even before that, that what you expect out of them and what you want to take this program to, even better, even higher heights, or elevate that. So what were maybe some of those conversations like that you've had with the players so far?
Yeah, a lot of it's that competition and that hustle, but also, a lot of things off the court as well. It's not all about on the court for us. We have high standards as far as like our academics and the way that our girls perform in the classroom. We expect them to be leaders in the classroom. We expect them to be doing the things that they're supposed to do plus more. And just being role models off the court, whether that's, showing up to fall league and spring league and helping with our little kids. But we have a really, really supportive community here in Emporia, that has really shown our program so much love and so much support. And our girls are role models. They're role models for the little girls that are in our community that want to wear a Lady Spartan jersey someday. And they're role models for the boys too. I mean, there's just everybody looks up to these kids, and just getting them to understand that and buy into it and understand it is bigger than just them. It's bigger than just the team, but it's about the community too. And it's about our school, representing our school with pride. So I think all of that is really kind of what I'm trying to get them to understand, kind of coming into my first year as head coach.
So let me ask something maybe a little bit different here, but with Addie, right? I know you probably coached her a little bit across, did her across her journey, and um, her now going to Emporia State, she ain't going too far, probably maybe 10 minutes if that. It could be even shorter. But to, see her and her success and her stay home and play with Coach Osterman there at Emporia State, um, how exciting is that for you as a coach when you've probably coached her or did something along the lines of with her over her 4 years? What was it like to coach Addie and now to be able to see her compete in her hometown?
Man, I can't say enough positive things about Addie. She's a phenomenal kid. She's so fun to be around. And I know I said that earlier about the whole group of seniors from last year, but she's a blast to be around. You just can't be around her and not be laughing and smiling. And she just has a way of making things lighthearted. But man, when she turns it on like that. Like she can, she can joke with you, but then when we step on that court, that girl means business. And the really cool thing about her going to ESU is, I don't know how many people know this, but Lexi DeWitt is also going to go walk on at ESU as well. So she gets to go play with Lexi and continue to be teammates in that way. And they're joining Gracie Gilpin, who also was their teammate a few years ago. So it's really a really neat experience, knowing that I'm going to get to go watch those girls. That have played with that E on their chest, with that Spartan head on their chest, and just see them continue to work together, especially when they play girls like Rebecca Snyder. Like, it's just really cool to see them continued on that path. But man, all of those girls, that is such a hard-working group of girls that put in so much extra time, and it's just really been fun to see kind of how they've blossomed.
So I guess that brings up maybe another point here in terms of, like you said, Gracie and now Addie and then Lexi and Rebecca's over at Washburn. I mean, there's so many different pieces, if you will, from just a couple of years ago that have funneled and stayed here in Kansas and have stayed home, if you will. So what does that just say about what Emporia is able to build in terms of the players with the development and being able to showcase their talents in variety of ways. So what does that just say about the Emporia girls basketball program that just continues to develop, Division two, Division one, whichever athletes seems like almost every year.
I mean, I think it says a lot. I think it says that, we have high expectations for our girls. We tell them that all the time. This isn't for like the faint of heart. You don't come out to our practices and just like just walk through them. It's you're competing and you're competing every drill and you're competing every day. And there's obviously going to be days where you're not at your best, but you've got to be sharp enough mentally that you're still going to give it your best and you're still going to compete, even if it's not you feel like it's your best, if that makes sense. And, we've got other girls too that are going not only for basketball, like Zeta Pearson's going to go play basketball as well, but, Emil Bennett playing soccer, or we have so many athletes that aren't even necessarily just basketball that are signed to play other places. And I think, basketball does play into that. They're developing those habits. They're learning how to work hard. They're learning how to balance their time and, manage that time well with academics and their social life and the sports. And, I can't say enough about these girls in our program for being willing to be pushed in that way every single day during the season. And, even out of the season too.
So just to be able to now, let's say if you call it, have the keys to the program, and you've probably been building things already, probably since day one that you were hired, and just, when you think about it and as the season gets closer, of course you're excited. Just what are you looking forward to most when that time comes as you continue to build towards, game one of the regular season? What are some of those things that you're just really looking forward to and really honing in on as that time gets closer?
It sounds like kind of cliche, and this is the answer I find myself going to a lot, but I get so excited to work with these kids, like truly, and my coaching staff as well. I can't, it is I'm happy to go to work every single day and work with these girls. And, I'm happy to go to work and teach and stuff like that too during the day. But just practice is like that highlight of my day, just hanging out with those girls. And, you know, they know that they're going to have to work hard, but they know that I'm also going to put in everything that I've got as well. Bob and Brett and we spend a lot of time uh, working on, whether it's scout or what do we need to work on, or what are strengths that we have that we need to, focus on more. It's a constant, what can we do to get better? But just between that with my coaching staff and just working with those girls and continuing to push them, those are two things that I don't take it for granted. I mean, I can't even tell you guys how excited I am to continue to get to work with these athletes that I've been working with and work with this coaching staff that I've been working with. It is truly, I'm so thrilled about it.
And I'm assuming that when they see you, they probably light up, right? Because you've been able to coach them for so many years.
It was pretty cool after the word got out that I was hired to kind of have some of those girls, like Addie, you mentioned. Addie was actually the first one that texted me after the board docs dropped, or after the minutes were approved, or something like that. She was the first one that actually texted me, which, I think it means a lot. Obviously it's nice when you hear adults that are complimentary of you, but when it's the kids that you've worked with that are excited, or going to school the next day and my middle school girls coming up to me saying, I'm so excited to get to be coached by you for the next 4 years, it's special. It's really special. And I definitely don't take it for granted. I've got a lot of really good kids, that are coming back and returning to the program. Kaylee DeWitt is one, obviously Lexi's little sister. Bailey Wiltz, she's another one that's going to really help us when she starts to step up and into that leadership role. Aubrey Hess is another one, another sophomore that's returning. But we also have Katie Smart as well. She's a senior that's returning, and she's going to play a really big part in our program this year. So we've got a lot of kids that are returning, and some kids coming up like Macy Davis and Jada Geary that are really hard workers, and they're going to complement that sophomore class pretty well, and Katie pretty well. So I'm really excited about what we got returning and what we got coming up.
One thing I will ask again, or one thing I thought about when I interviewed Hayden boys basketball coach Dwayne Anthony, who was over at Topeka West. Now, of course, the head coach at Hayden. I asked him, he was very energized and passionate and smiling just like yourself. And I asked him, where does that come from? Where did you get that love? Where, like, because coaches have all different kinds of philosophies and where they learn from. Is there somebody? He said Magic Johnson was his when he was growing up. Was there a player or a coach, or what gave you that inspiration to be a basketball coach?
For me, it's just honestly the love of the game. Uh, I just always loved to compete in general. I was always playing multiple different sports at a time. Always, my parents, I don't know how they did it. It was juggling practices. There would be nights where I'd go to a travel basketball team, and then I'd go to soccer practice, and then I'd go to my school track practice. Like, it was just crazy how much they had to kind of run me around. But basketball was just really the thing that I fell in love with. Rajon Rondo was a guy that I really liked watching for the Celtics, because I was a point guard, and so watching him just man, the way he could move the ball was pretty big for me. And then Candace Parker was another one for me that I loved watching growing up too. Just the way that she competed and the fire that she played with was a pretty big one for me as well.
I love that. Well, there you go. Yeah, and being a Chicago Sky, me being from Illinois, of course, Candace Parker's a legend in
Yeah,
Chicago. So,
yeah,
Taylor,
100%.
is there anything else that I'm missing again from the coaching journey, from what you've learned so far about the girls that you have coming back? Anything that I'm missing that you'd like to add?
Um, Not that I can think of.
Okay, well, Taylor, I really appreciate you doing this with us, and good luck coming up here this end of this next season.
Thank you. I appreciate it.